Welcome back to The Big Picture. Phil, I want to talk with you a little bit about the wellness level of Western New Yorkers. I was mentioning in my opening that out of 62 counties in New York State, we're number 56 on the wellness level. I mean, I guess when I went out west and I came back, you know, I know we're having this renaissance in Buffalo and so many wonderful things are happening here, but one of the areas where we really need to work on ourselves as Western New Yorkers is in health.
Yeah, there's absolutely, you know, I think many of the viewers recognize when the time of the year this is, we're celebrating the 50th anniversary, Catherine, of America putting a person on the moon.
Right.
And, you know, the eagle has landed. And it is a challenge for us as a nation, and it's one that I think we can solve, to have a health system in America that produces health.
Right.
We spend more per person than any developed nation in the world, and so they call this the value equation. You may know this, your viewers understand. You go out and buy something, if you pay top dollar for it, you expect to get the most value out of it. We're not getting the most value out of our health system.
Right.
We don't get health. We have great treatment and cure. You get sick, you go to a hospital, we're probably the best in the world at that. But on the other side of the ledger, in terms of the prevention and health promotion side, we're grossly underfunded. Of every dollar that's spent in the trillions that are spent on health, about 95 cents of every dollar is spent on the treatment and cure side, and only 5 cents. So part of our challenge in our work that we do to be a healthy city, a healthy community, is to look to ways that we can integrate access to comprehensive health promotion. If you're a business, if you're an employer and you say, I have an employee wellness program, I'm pleased to hear that. But if your program is just a health fair once a year, that's not going to change the culture of your organization.
And that's where the solution lies, is in the education. I mean, so often I feel that going back to the roots, our grandparents, everything was fresh food. They cooked it from scratch. It wasn't fast food. It wasn't prepared. It wasn't in a can or a box on a shelf somewhere that might have been irradiated. And they walked. We didn't drive everywhere. We didn't sit at a computer all day. And sitting has really become the new smoking.
It wasn't, it wasn't an auto-centric society, as the phrase goes. But I'll also point out to you, I agree in part with your comment about education as part of the solution. But if that's all you do, it's not enough. The clearest example I can give to your viewers, and maybe some that are older, like myself a little bit, is with tobacco. If I asked you for a cigarette right now, Catherine, you don't smoke, you don't have one, but 25 years ago, we could be sitting right here on this stage and we'd be smoking. So if you look at it from a data standpoint, it used to be 1 in 2 adults smoked here in New York State. Now, not quite in Erie County, but across the state, we're under 1 in 5. How did we get there? Public policy, environmental changes, training programs, capacity building, education, and this, communication. Communication is a critical piece. And there's so much happening, as you know now, in the world of communication with social media and all the tools that are out there. You can go into your pocket these days, and if you want to know how many steps you've done, these toys will tell you those kinds of things, or you can get your calories checked. So in summary, you know, again, from our perspective, you need to take a comprehensive approach to culture change in a community. And that goes back to what we talked about in the beginning of the show, a balance between personal choice but also societal support. And those are really what I think are the key elements. I'm so glad we're on Big Picture today, because it's not too often I get a chance to talk about the big picture and what it would take.
Well, I love that you have been such a wellness warrior in Western New York. You spent the last 3 decades doing this work. And do you ever get discouraged? Do you think that, how do you feel about the future of wellness in Western New York?
I'm a tough guy in some respects. I mean, I was, I played linebacker when I was football. Anybody that knows football, linebackers they do the job. So yeah, there are days and times when you wish things weren't the way they were, and et cetera. But there are also milestones along the way where you get recognition, not personal, but of the process working and change happening.
What are some of those milestones?
Well, again, I would say, like in 1997, at that time I chaired the Anti-Tobacco Coalition. We passed the strongest clean indoor air laws in the state of New York, and eventually, 6 years later, the governor took it across the entire state. So we've really moved the dial on tobacco. As I said, going from 1 and 2 adults to smoke. Now, marketplaces don't stand still. Now you got vaping, but we just passed laws raising the age to 21 to reduce access to those negative products. So the movements towards workplace health promotion are very strong. School systems. Many of your viewers probably have children in school, as I know you're familiar with some folks in the school level. Our district wellness policies across the state of New York and the country are helping us to raise healthier children. And if you go on the other end of the spectrum to aging, there is Age-Friendly Buffalo, Age-Friendly Erie County. The county executive is about to launch Live Well Erie County. I'm not sure all the pieces that'll be in that, but and that also, I think, Catherine points out a very important piece in our conversation, and that is the role of leadership in your community. And you have to have it from the private sector, the nonprofits, and the public sector, and the citizen's voice at the table.
Now, what would be, if you could choose one top hit list for something in Western New York, for anyone watching the show, that we can focus on to make a change in our community that would immediately raise us from 56 to maybe 55.
Yeah. I suppose you know, there's again 2 sides to answer that question. One is the personal side, and that's for persons to make that personal choice. And I would put it simply in with the physical activity side. I think that's available to the people through the lifespan. You can walk at any place, anytime for low cost. On the other side of the ledger, to the societal side, things that we can do that make our parks and our communities more walkable and bicycle friendly and those kinds of things. Collectively, that could help us. It's not the full solution, but you wanted a short term and around the corner piece, and certainly any of your viewers that are interested in that, they can contact me at the Wellness Institute. We have toolkits for walking clubs. We have toolkits for assessing walkability in your neighborhood, and we're happy to share those.
And that is one of the biggest issues I see in the elderly in our society in this day and age, is that oftentimes they'll sit in a room with a television on and not be as active. And I ran into a woman the other day, it was remarkable. A friend of mine owns a yoga studio, and he walked up and gave her a big hug, and vibrant, she's out, you know, at Wegmans shopping, driving, and she could do any yoga pose that anyone in the class could do. And we walked away, and he said, "How old do you think she is?" I said, "Maybe 70. He said, "She's 90 years old. She gets up every morning at 4 a.m., she meditates, she comes at 7 a.m., and she does yoga every single day." And I think it's just staying active. If you don't move it, you lose it.
And that's
to
beautiful
some extent.
too, because you're pointing out things like yoga and Tai Chi that are age-friendly for older adults. And we're not expecting people to go out and run marathons or even 5Ks. If the science tells us that if you can accumulate about 30 minutes of moderate physical activity most days of the week, that's going to have health benefits for you. So we're not that far away from being a healthier community, but again, it takes advocacy, it takes people stepping up to the plate. You know, if your neighborhood isn't walkable, if the sidewalks or the streets need street lights repaired, those are things that citizens, block club groups, and those can get corrected, which will make their neighborhoods safer and more walkable. So part of our world is coaching people on these things, understanding that.
I was just going to ask, can people reach out to the Wellness Institute and ask her advice when they...
Well, and not only ask for advice, but we want to learn from them what's working, what's interesting. It's always, I think, to both of our benefits to have a two-way dialogue, as you and I are today. You know, so what's your secret, Catherine? It's my turn to ask a question. You know,
years ago when I was publishing Holistic Health Journal, I had a conversation with a doctor who wrote a book on longevity.
Okay.
And he said 3 major things that we often miss that really help to extend quality of life. Activity, stretching, especially stretching, because we lose our flexibility, then we lose our balance as we get older. Taking omega fatty acids, very important. We don't often get enough of those, and especially in Western New York, we don't get enough vitamin D, which is important to supplement with. And finally, drinking enough water. And a lot of times people think, well, I'll just have a Pepsi, I'll have a glass of juice, and that doesn't hydrate the body. There's a lot of sugar. Juice has as much sugar as sodas do oftentimes. And so you want to actually have water, or tea is another form of hydrating yourself.
Okay.
But
well,
those were
that's
his
it,
3
folks. You got Catherine's
pieces
secrets,
of advice, and
that.
I've lived by those ever since.
What
about you?
I'd add another fun one, and that's socialization.
Yes.
There's a concept in the science literature called social capital, and that's the levels of trust and norms of reciprocity that exist among people and in communities. And Robert Putnam from Harvard University is the American guru on this topic, but there's really good evidence if socialization is a resource for health. And so even as you get older and meeting new people, you know, and maybe sometimes getting out of the old rut is a thing, but go to a yoga class, like you said, because good yoga instructors will bring you along slowly, and the benefits will accrue over time. And that's probably another piece, is a little bit of patience. You know, that works for all of us.
Instead of just watching something, you know, sitting in a chair, it keeps your brain active to socialize with people. It keeps you active. It keeps you
the other side of if I could wave the magic wand too.
We have about 1 minute to wave that magic wand.
All right,
so wave it.
I'll be quick with it. I'm going to speak to the business community. The economic impact of poor health has been studied here, 2.5 billion annually.
Wow.
And we need leadership from the business community and that element to get more employee wellness programs, good programs going. Give me a call and I'll help you do that.
That's wonderful, Phil. Thank you so much for being a guest on our show. As I say, I've just admired you for years, and I'm so grateful that you're still doing this in the community.
Me too.
Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us today on The Big Picture, and we hope to see you next week.